Hello, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. This is another Audible session where I read some stuff. I don't remember what I'm up to. Did say something yesterday, but I don't remember what. Alright, not here. We'll go to, oh my god, they all gathered in one place. Nice. Valyrian Mirage. Let's go to the very bottom. It pushed me out. Whoops. Man, I wish there was more stuff here in the middle. Would be kind of cool. Make it more fun and festive. Well. Archive. We read through living beings. I believe so. Should we read through Oceanid again? Since we're here? Why not, right? This is an Oceanid. Elemental life forms. Oceanid. A life form created from condensed hydro elements of incredible purity, often attached to bodies of water. It is said that as water bodies become purer, the hydro elements within grow more abundant, causing the oceanids to grow more powerful. It is also said by some that oceanids were once sea creatures from a home far away who carried the fragments of a long-dead god to the many corners of this world. Perhaps they did this so that the love their god held for this world could be spread through the waters to all the land. You know what? I want to know more about the previous Hydro Archon, as well as the current Hydro Archon, but more so the previous one. Well, let's go through materials, and I think the one I really want to go through, yes, I'll level up materials. Alright. It has been a while. Dvalin's Plume. A dragon's feather that has experienced more than 1,000 years worth of winds. One sees within it a yearning for freedom, so strong that it could whip up a light breeze to rescue it from its current confines. Its former owner's recognition of you is what makes it content to stay in your hands. Dvalin's Claw. A dragon claw that once contained the shadow of Dragon Durin's vile poison. Having torn through the latter's flesh in battle, thanks to your purification and healing, it is no longer toxic. Dvalin's Sigh. The dragon of the East's physical form is beautiful and transparent. Both trade winds and tornadoes will work in his name. The winds move as his companion, his voice and his freedom. His enemies are the thousands who stand against the wind. Tale of Boreas. Even without his physical body and beyond death, Boreas still possesses extraordinary powers. He took a form comprised of ice and wind to embrace a new challenge. But even such a form could not house all of his power. The ice scales that fell during the battle still retain some of their spiritual energy. Ring of Boreas. This land was once a realm of freezing cold blizzards and ice storms filled with razor-sharp ice shards, all at the command of Boreas. Though his power may have diminished, he could still freeze the land in an instant. Spirit Locket of Boreas. This land was once a realm of freezing cold blizzards and ice storms filled with razor-sharp ice shards, all at the command of Boreas. In his final moments, he finally realized that the chilling north wind would only extinguish life, not nurture it. Therefore, Boreas let his powers freely flow into the land to protect it and its inhabitants. Tusk of Monoceros Caeli. He said that the shape of one's constellation determines one's character. The image of a whale cruising across the celestial heights represents a solipsism that seeks to crush and devour all in its path. Embracing this aspect of himself, Chard gleefully summoned one such beast before throwing himself into battle against you. Shard of Foul Legacy, of a Foul Legacy, stained with a profound color not of this world. What, purple? No doubt due to the land of endless darkness that the young boy saw with his own two eyes. Perhaps it has nothing to do with the power of a delusion, but as they say, the weapon reflects its user. Shadow of the Warrior, the product of a will to fight that has been honed over countless slaughters. If humans do indeed have destinies, then his must surely have been twisted by such deeds. Why else then would he always be at the heart of every conflict? Because he loves it. Dragon Lord's Crown. Horns created from hardened jade crystallized over 1,000 years are the natural crown of the Dragon King. Infused with spirit and carved from bedrock, it was born from the mountain's heart to show the strength of the earth to the land amidst monoliths, and its long golden horns are the mark of its ancient strife with an ancient lord. For a time, this horn was shattered and lost its luster, but now it gleams cold and gold as it sits in your palm. Blood Jade Branch. Nurtured by the might of the Dragon King, these bone branches glitter with strange, unique colors. Hatred coursed through the natural streams and kissed the cold moonlight, and from them were these crystalline branches born and grown. Even though they were severed in battle, these branches steeped in dragon blood rustle as if eternally ill at ease. Gilded Scale. Scaled armor that grows naturally over mystical stone, tough and silent and filled with the strength of the Dragon King. Across the years, as countless generations returned to the mulch of the earth, gold and obsidian embedded themselves into flesh, and blood forged from bedrock, before spreading and turning into scales, searing agony, wordless cries. Perhaps they will all vanish when the grudges that spawned them too finally come to an end. Molten Moment. A certain deformed fragment containing great might. You obtained this from defeating Signora, who unleashed her original power. I had a long dream. A dream that you and I met again in the pure white world that we created. But I woke up at last, having long been consumed by the raging fires, while you had long returned to the earth along with that poisoned blood. But none of it matters anymore. I must continue forging ahead. I must incinerate everything behind me. I must believe in that pure, spotless, everlasting realm that he spoke of, that I saw in the delusion he let me see at the end of the horizon of Her Majesty's dreams. Who let her see the delusion now was Piero. That is, the jester. So the world can be remade through the Majesty, the Tsaritsa. Hellfire Butterfly. A warped shard that houses great might. You obtained this from defeating Signora, who unleashed her original power. The seal of ice was broken under duress, and as her former will surged forth from its pale white prison, and she remembered her old name once more, the undying butterfly danced amidst burning flesh and blood. And she remembered her past, wandering the land, spreading the flame, burning away all evil, and she recalled the face of the person she could never meet again. Ashen Heart, a deformed fragment that contains powerful emotions. You obtained this from defeating Signora. You unleashed her original power. Even tears cannot extinguish the flames. Molten hot agony and rage rushed through her veins, oozing from her tear ducts. The first Fatus found her just before her heart could be destroyed by the eternal blaze. He understood that only deeper hate and obsession could quench the fire that devoured her and make her his ally. First Fatus, Piero. Mudra of the Malefic General. A puppet joint, obtained from the plane of Euthymia. The gesture here symbolizes the concept that one sees and one does, even now that she has become a calamitous deity. She can still utilize such transcendent gestures, her sword flashing forth as swiftly as her eyes may see, and yet as the countless disasters are ground on for far too long, the baleful general's shell had to embrace a new spring. Tears of the Calamitous God. A puppet joint obtained from the plane of Euthymia. The gesture here is in the shape of the baleful eye of stormy judgment. Since they are able to bring down curse and catastrophe alike with a mere gaze, it might seem natural to blame life's misfortunes on calamitous deities. However, if you think about it a little harder, if your will is strong enough, and if your convictions are firm enough, the catastrophes go on for too long. Even a baleful gaze must wash itself with tears. The meaning of aeons. A small piece of headgear obtained once the dust settled in the plane of Euthymia. One thought may end all calamity, and there will always be thoughts that may transcend time. Amid all this, one wonders if Makoto's true meaning was successfully communicated or not. Puppet strings, tubes that were inserted into the mechanical puppet's back. The colors that flow within them are sometimes dull, and at others vibrant. The contrast is so great as to be fearful. They provided power to the mechanical puppet, and at the same time served as its strings, controlling it and binding it. Once the support of these tubes is lost, the puppet becomes as weak as a newborn infant, barely able to even move. Mirror of Mushin. The mirror that was set in Shoki no Kami's chest to separate him from the outside world. The Mitsudomoi symbol is emblazoned on it as a deliberate show of status and might. This symbol, however, is no show of obeisance to the Master of Lightning, but is instead a blade pointed at the existing powers that be in this world. Nor is the mirror a means to shut out the looks of judgment from onlooking people, but is rather a bulwark against this base and sullied world. Within this great temple shall punishment be meted out, and ignorance be cleansed. Dreams shall be overturned, desires shall be cut away, and karma shall be reset. Dark as bell. This ball joint, used to connect mechanical limbs together, is shaped almost like a bell. Though it may seem dainty, it can be used to carry an unimaginably large amount of energy. If connected to one's arms, then one will lose all feeling in them, and all strength in one's legs will dissipate if such joints are connected to them. Connect this joint to one's skull. Hatred, pain, madness, pride. None of these will be washed away. Most fortunate. Excuse me? Most fortunate? Worldspan Fern. A fern taken from the oasis within Apep's body. At the dawn of time, the world belonged to the dragons. There, the ferns were the first to sprout in the lush verdant world of Apep's court. In the ages after, these ferns would become trees, vines, roots, and leaves, blanketing the world with their touch. But Apep still remembers the first frond as it stretched freely toward the sky, making a sound so delicate as to go unheard. Primordial green bloom. A primordial flower procured from the oasis within Apep. With the passing of eons, flowers grew in fragrance and volume, and they gained a collection of titles as numerous as the stars in the night sky. However, this first flower to bloom never bore any name. For the dragons of old, even if a rose lost its name, it would not lose its scent. Naming things is but how lesser ephemeral beings understand the world. Life is not constrained by words, and will always grow and evolve. Ever amber. A piece of amber taken from the oasis within Apep. Inside the amber, a small, long-extinct insect remains frozen in time. To the tree, it was circumstance that led to this little life to be wreathed within its amber. But for said life, this was fate. Following the heaven-sent disaster, wood vines, roots, and all manner of flora withered and turned to dust. A great many life forms disappeared. But in the stillness of amber, a nameless insect endures in this otherworldly oasis, reaching a future that no others of its kind could. Well, kinda just looks like a butterfly. Hurricane Seed. The imploded form of an animal hypostasis upon its defeat contains the essence of animal energy. It is said that the power to create hurricanes resides within its seemingly fragile body. This butterfly of pure animal energy must surely be waiting for the day when it can conjure up storms once again. Lightning Prism. An electrohypostasis channels nearby elemental energy to repair damaged elemental entities. Contains the essence of electro energy. An ordinary prism separates white light into its component colors. A lightning prism, however, channels flowing energies and weaves them into lightning. It will continue to do so even after the electrohypostasis has been defeated. They all have the little cubes. Basalt pillar. Or basalt pillar. A pillar formed by the shell of a geohypostasis, composed of high-density geoenergy, is a testament to Geo's status as the heaviest of the elements. Maybe the reason a geohypostasis creates this pillar out of its shell and raises itself is just to get closer to the sky, not to combat enemies. Maybe. Hoarfrost core. The core of a cryoregisfine, pure cryo, is contained within it. Energy and thoughts that swell deep within the earth will eventually erupt on the surface. Even the deathly silent frost will attach to living things on the ground, turning even ordinary vegetation like vines into huge, vicious predators. I guess there's no 3D view of these. Everflame seed. A seed that fuels the unending flames of the pyroregisfine. It emits pyro energy, as if it will burn all that has ever sprouted from the ground. Endless desires flow among turbulent energy deep within the earth. What desire could steadily hold such fire to the plants and long so eagerly to bathe everything in unquenchable flames? Cleansing heart. A palm full of eternal water left by an oceanid. Though it has already diffused among the depths of the lake, its purity remains all the same. But why would a creature so pure and clean as an oceanid covet the appearance of a being that roams the land, and assume such a form with pure water? They need not breathe, nor do they require sustenance. Juvenile jade. A crystalline substance taken from a primal geovishap. Within it is contained the potential to become a dragon. These dull crystals are precipitated within the bodies of bishops sleeping in the mountains. Their folklore holds that they will gather power over many years, after which this crystal will, at last, replace their original heart. And the bishop will become a true dragon, one that can shake the mountains and split the earth. Crystalline bloom. An ice crystal of exceeding purity that is created in the frigid blooming of a cryohypostasis. These frosty crystals will continue to grow according to their own cold, rigid laws, till one day a flower of winter shall bloom and freeze everything. Perhaps it is stagnant time, that never thawing bosom, that is the essence of this undying flower. What? Marionette core. This core can power the inorganic Magu Kenki and cause it to wield a blade like a living being. Flesh decays, and with it decay all martial arts mastery and all poignant memories. Perhaps only by converting one's four limbs and body into sturdy mechanical parts, and by at last sacrificing one's very own heart to a sophisticated mechanical one, can one transcend the impermanence of the fleshly form. Yes, perpetual heart. The core that powers the autonomous movements of the perpetual mechanical array. Some theorize that the symbols on those cores have knowledge and logic inscribed upon them in a language that eyes cannot perceive. Some go a step further and believe that these unique rune machines autonomously decide to forsake a biomimetic form to pursue strength of function and account of their especially large cores and complex inscriptions. Smoldering Pearl. A crystallization of a pyrohypostasis that constantly emits heat. Even the burning flame shall one day grow cold, and even the ashen firewood can will itself back into a raging blaze. It must then be the will of the world that pyrohypostases should constantly cool down and heat up, much like the universe teems with endless life, until the fated darkness shall one day descend and bring it all to naught. Dew of Repudiation. A strange water droplet left behind by the collapse of the hydrohypostasis. It has strong rejection properties, and this forms the basis of one of the hydrohypostasis' attack patterns as well. They say that water contains memories and willpower, and that these things can grow when bodies of water meld together. However, the waves conjured by the hydrohypostasis are incompatible with the currents that flow above and below ground. Even if it were to flow into the surpassingly pure waters of petrichor, this drop of water will likely resist assimilation as strong as mercury. Pure waters of petrichor. I've heard that name before, but I still don't know where that is. Storm beads. Crackling electro pearls left behind by the thunder manifestation. It is said that thunder manifestations will only descend upon lands where powerful hatred dwells. The singers say that it is the unbearable disappointments and sufferings of life that drove them to forever wander the broken earth, unleashing sky-searing lightning as they go. Riftborn Regalia. A broken horn that you obtained from defeating the Wolf Lord. That said, it should not have left anything behind after your hunt. Even a lord among the Rift Wolves is nothing before monsters of a high pedigree. Gold mass-produced these malformed wolf packs, almost as if by accident, like shrunken drawings on discarded sheets of paper, and the horns of this one represent its authority to command its dark brood to dissolve space itself. Gold mass-produced these by accident? What? Did she leave the printer going or something? Dragonair's false fin. A piece of biological tissue that you found after defeating the Bathismal Bishops. Although it looks like a fin of some kind, it does not actually have any function at all. The people of Byakuyakoku once investigated the Bathismal Bishops quite deeply. Their most distinctive feature was the ability to choose what traits it wished to pass on to its offspring. Because of their great hatred for man-made light sources, these bishops will lose any visual acuity by the time they reach maturity. At the same time, they have also evolved a certain degree of elemental polymorphism for combat purposes. Runic Fang. A fang with which the mysterious snake-like machine of old dug into mountains' depths. There are many ominous runes carved on it. It is said that giant serpents lurk in the dark fissures deep beneath the ground. Burning with eternal resentment and malice toward the world above, they threw themselves into digging great tunnels, yet none know what their malicious purposes are. Majestic hooked beak. An elongated bill that you found after defeating the Jade Plume Terrace Room. Researchers still consider it a miracle, even now that some soft fungi have evolved these rock-hard hooked beaks. This magnificent king amongst fungi has been leisurely pacing on the finish line of evolution. Now and then, he emits a long call to all the living beings in the rainforest. Even the most helpless and timid creature may one day become the monarch of the woods. Until we kill it. Anyway, thunderclap fruit core. The core of an electro-regisvine, wrapped in razor-sharp leaves, wantonly emits electro energy. The roaring energy rampaging deep within, the earth is eager to pour out its rage, thus even tainting these unfortunate vines with its mania, causing them to wail and flail their branches frantically. One can hardly tell whether it longs for others to taste the pain of being continuously electrocuted and charred, or if it is struggling, looking forward to its inevitable doom. It's constantly living in pain. Perpetual Caliber. A motive device obtained from a mysterious ruin machine. The machine it once powered may have been destroyed, but it continues to rotate all the same. There should be no such thing as an energy source that can sustain itself forever in this world. And the most research results obtained in the field of perpetual motion have been eventually proved false. Yet this device is proof that a now destroyed civilization once reached heights that present-day nations could not hope to match. It's a perpetual motion machine. Nice. Attach a fan blade to it, and then you can actually have a fan that goes on forever. Light guiding tetrahedron. A core component obtained via defeating a mysterious ruined machine. To this day, these ancient devices have not forgotten the dreams of their masters or their own duties. To build 1,000 palaces, to administrate 3,000 machines, to sow 10,000 flowers, and that shall never bloom again, and to recreate a paradise now buried beneath the desert sands, for the sake of all who live in this world. Though the Lord of the Desert no longer lives, and those dreams have long been corrupted by sinful whispers, and though all the magical pillars have been broken and have collapsed, the great beast, once favored by the king, hides still within the great searing storm. Cloud Creeper. The final coalesced form of the dendrohypostasis. The tough vines protect a pure cubic elemental crystal. Dendro defies any common logic, yet exists in perfect harmony with life. Elemental hypostases, on the contrary, are most distant in appearance to all living beings. The combination of these two should probably never have appeared in this world. It is said that such elemental hypostases have the intelligence to learn, and have thus understood the colors and dreams of the forest, a process that has transformed them into the sheep over thousands of years. Pseudostamens. The pale wing sheaths hiding in a wee-nut's tail are as thin as the blooming stamens of a flower. It is said that in the past, even before the beginning of time, they used to travel through the moist land under meadows and forests, similar to birds flying across the sky and fish swimming in the water. It is generally believed that their mimicry of flowers is to lure lost prey caught by sandstorms. There is also a theory, however, that their imitation of a blooming flower was inspired by the splendid blossoms countless epochs ago, which have long gone the way of the desert winds. Evergloom Ring. A mystical weapon obtained after defeating the four-armed envoy of Dark Tidings. Rings are shaped like passageways, which is why arcane formations that are meant to produce some mystical effect are often ring-shaped. Deep in the land's depths, there once were people who caught a glimpse of an edge of the universe. The majority came to understand that, compared to the insignificant lives bound to the land by gravity, even the shadows of the magnificent entities within the universe possess a more colorful and concrete form. Among them, there were pioneers who attempted to travel to the dark universe, and those who tried introducing a piece of the real universe to the underground world full of conflict, devoid of hope, with no past or future to speak of. Such rings are perhaps gateways intended to guide the universe itself. Brilliant diamond silver. Character ascension material. Welcome to this world. Welcome to this world. Welcome to this world. Welcome to this world. Alright, we'll read the gemstones. Agnetis Agate Gemstone. Character ascension material. A pilgrimage for a wish. A battle to earn a name. Burnt to cinders for a dream. If the intention yet remains, achieved blanks. Truth he has. Varunada Lazurite Gemstone. My deals have no stains. I must correct you. People here bear no sins in the eyes of the gods. Only laws and the tribunal can judge someone. They can judge even me. So praise my magnificence and purity. Are these the archons? Probably. Let's see with Electro. Vajrada Amethyst Gemstone. This body is the noblest and most eminent of all in this world. It should hold absolute control over this world. It once promised its people a dream, the never-changing eternity. Vayuda Turquoise Gemstone. Still the winds change direction. Someday, they will blow towards a brighter future. Take my blessing and live leisurely from this day onward. Oh wait, this animal is not Dendro. Okay, this ice. Shivada Jade Gemstone. Sorry to also have you shoulder the grievances of the world. Since you could endure my bitter cold, you must have the desire to burn. Then burn away the old world for me. Is that to Signora? Prithiva Topaz Gemstone. The currencies that flow through this land are my flesh and blood. For thus did I become the guarantor of the people's hard work, wisdom, and future. This is the trust I have placed in them. Betray it, and you taint my blood. Dendro Negadus Emerald Gemstone. I had a very, very long dream. In it, people were holding hands, dancing in a circle. Be they sages or fools, dancers or warriors, puppets or statues of gods. That dancing circle embodied everything about the universe. Life has always been the end, while it is wisdom that shall be the means. Okay, each of these are different. Tal of Decarabian's Tower. The place now known as Stormterror's Lair was once the capital city of Decarabian, the god of storms. Since this dream of prosperity was created entirely by his divine might, the broken pieces left behind by the shattering of that dream still possess great power. Debris of Decarabian City. Decarabian, the god of storms, was content with the capital city he had raised, and accepted the worship of the people from atop his tower. But he knew that not that the freedom No, but he knew not that the people did not bow to him out of respect or adoration, but out of fear. Fragment of Decarabian's epic. Andreas once declared war upon Decarabian, but failed to even scratch the capital of the Lord of the Tower. If it were not for the Song of Freedom that shattered the city in an instant, Decarabian's dream would have gone on forever. Scattered piece of Decarabian's dream. The people did not bow to Decarabian out of respect or adoration, but because the harsh winds had laid them low. This was the shattered dream and ambition of the animal Archon before the rise of Barbados, or Barbatos. He tried so hard to make his dream come true, and so the fragments of that dream are still mighty. Yeah, I don't see Decarabian as a bad guy. If you don't see A as a bad Archon, then Decarabian is no less a bad Archon. It's just the same as the writer and show. Boreal Wolf's Milktooth. Andreas's wolf pack is its blessed honor god, and even the milk teeth of a wolf cub possesses great potential. In the past, the gods had their responsibility to love all people. Andreas was therefore quite unusual, in that he became leader of the wolves, while only welcoming abandoned babies and wanderers when it came to humans. Boreal Wolf's Cracked Tooth. The life of a wolf is not without violence. Broken bones or cracked teeth are nothing special. Andreas found humans to be a disappointment, but believed babies to be innocent. If both the wolf pack and the adopted children chose each other, then they become a lupical, a fated family. Boreal Wolf's Broken Fang. The wolf pack also understands that humans are not solitary creatures. The honorary broken tooth is a parting gift said to bring protection and luck. In the legends of a far-off world, a female wolf once adopted two great humans. Their home was known as the Cave of Wolves, or Lupercal, the word meaning the same thing as Lupercal does in this world. Family. Boreal's Wolf's Nostalgia. The Wolf King, believing himself to despise humans, thought himself unable to envision a happy life for humanity, making him unworthy of becoming the lord of the winds of the world. Therefore he chose to disappear, yet in truth he gazes on the ones abandoned by the world ever so gently. Fetters of the Dandelion Gladiator. It's a human thing to exaggerate a hero's story, even to the point of elevating the fetters that once bound the hero to the level of an enemy of true freedom. As a result, these fetters were granted extraordinary powers. Chains of the Dandelion Gladiator. The chains that once bound the great hero Vanessa. In truth, all gladiators would have worn chains in that era, and Vanessa was but one of many. Shackles of the Dandelion Gladiator. Vanessa was not truly bound by her chains. If she had so wished, no ordinary physical constraints forged in Mondstadt could have held her, while the land there yielded no ore of exceptional quality, nor did it possess the divine flame of her ancestral home. She was only bound by her responsibility to take care of her tribespeople. Dream of the Dandelion Gladiator. Vanessa may have been freed from slavery, but she then found herself subject to many other, even greater forms of bondage. What began as a duty to her tribespeople extended to all of Mondstadt. Then to the concept of freedom itself, and beyond a point even to the whole world. What she really hoped for, in truth, was that the world might grow stronger. Luminous sands from Guyun. The stone pillars that tower amid Guyun's stone forest were once the stone spears Morax used to defeat his enemies. Over time, the god's substance has seeped into the pillars that pin them down, lending them divine power. The pillars sometimes shed fragments of hatred and curses. Lustrous stone from Guyun. The learned know that Guyun's stone forest is far more than simply a miraculous sight. On the seat of Behold is the cemetery of the former gods of Liu. Hatred and filth have periodically risen up from it, but all have been subdued by a demon-conquering young man. Relic from Guyun. The stone spear has a glimmering core formed by the power of the defeated gods. Their hatred is not directed at Morax, however, for they have lost themselves a long time ago and are incapable of holding personal grudges. Divine body from Guyun. That which lurks within and animates this relic are the divine remains of lamenting gods. Their unrealized ideals, designs for a prosperous humanity that could never be. They may now lie deep within stone and sea, but they will not go quietly into the night. Mist-veiled lead elixir. Dreamcast is the realm of the mighty and illuminated Adepti. But other than their ability to control the elements of the world, Dreamcast is also home to 3 other untold secrets: alchemy, sigils, and subspace creation. Mist-veiled mercury elixir. With Fulu, sigils, and the Adepti can store their power in the form of symbols, and with Waijing, subspace creation, they can fashion a cosmic paradise with the power of their minds. The manufacture of elixirs, however, has always been shrouded in mystery. The certain death follows air for any who swallow them. Mist-veiled gold elixir. Elixirs are in fact pills made from metal alloys. They were created by the Adepti and are able to grant weapons transcendent powers. However, they are rarely seen in the world due to the hubris of the practitioners of martial arts, who prize the ways of combat over the paths of the Adepti. Mist-veiled primal elixir. An elixir of the highest quality embodies a state of intertwining order and chaos. It is said to mirror how the world was when it was first created. Of course, a certain someone knows that this was not the case. Zhongli. Grain of erositorite. A black meteor once fell beyond Liu's sea of clouds, said to have fallen to vanquish a monster. However, it was stained by powerful tainted blood, so this item no longer possesses the pure power of Rex Lapis. Black Meteor. Piece of erositorite. Rumors of sea monsters are commonplace in Liu, since the other shore is an unknown region that lies outside of Teyvat. Without the protection of the Seven, all that lies beyond is unknown chaos. Only power beyond the order of Teyvat is able to stain the power of Rex Lapis black. Bit of erositorite. The coastal nations of Teyvat refer to the region beyond the protection of the Seven as the Dark Sea. It is said that many defeated gods refused to live under the new order of the Seven, so they fled to remote islands and became evil gods. However, their powers came from the same source as Rex Lapis, separate from this all-devouring darkness. Chunk of erositorite. When Khanria was destroyed, a great sinner created endless monsters with dark alien blood flowing through their veins. They rampaged across the land, destroying all in their paths. They were mutated lifeforms, and the mutations were caused by powers from beyond this world. The black serpentine dragon Durin that attacked Mondstadt was one such mutated being. Yes. Coral branch of a distant sea. Watatsumi Island is the furthest from Narukami Island in the Inuzuman island chain, and its name means the god of the oceans in the island's ancient tongue. Legend has it that when the great serpent first arose within the abyssal nation of Evernight, its fluorescent body was covered in myriad colored coral. Wonder what he looked like. Well, you might know what he looked like if you saw a Raiden's teaser. Jeweled branch of a distant sea. This coral cannot be found anywhere in Teyvat, but was a gift that the great serpent obtained when it broke into the dark sea. For that abyssal snake to be filled with coral was to be mighty, and its power would be shaved away as those corals were lost. In other words, those corals contained power far beyond the norm. Jade branch of a distant sea. Fleeing into the dark sea, the god that had lost everything met the abandoned people, who had nothing within the ocean depths. Thus it elected to remain and become their Orobashi no Mikoto, their Watatsumi Omakami. It is said that the great snake god once broke off all the coral branches on its body to give light to its children, who were caught up in the darkness. They also say that it used these coral branches to create a huge ladder to allow those children to once again reach the surface and see the light of day. Oh, it sacrifices power. A lot of its power. Golden branch of a distant sea. The meaning that lies behind the name Watatsumi is simply the unrequited hopes that the abandoned people who dwelt in this deep sea pinned upon the serpent god that led them. And it was also because the serpent god now had people who worshipped it that it stayed in the world. It should have long fled, breaking off the coral branches that adorned its body, treading upon land where it should not have, and facing a foe it could never hope to match. So at last its divine form was sundered along with the mountains. Its ichor turned into plasma, and its will and power became a curse that could never be extinguished. Tataragami. Narukami's wisdom. In the past, the ancients would climb the peak now known as Mount Yogo and bend wood that had been charred by lightning into a hook to offer as an effigy unto the thundering force that lit up the skies and shook the earth. This shape would eventually become the Electromitodomoi symbol, symbolizing the favor, wisdom, and might of Electro, and also the people who represented these values. Narukami's joy. Those who belong to the shogunate commissions are those who administer and exercise power. In the monster-filled tales of the ancient past, those who were deeply trusted by the shogun would bear talismans with this hooked design on their person, and just as the word commission means to joyfully serve in the old tongue, those who received her favor would return it with love and loyalty. Yet after a certain point in time, nothing would be as it was before. Narukami's affection. All demons who wander in the wilderness or live amongst mortals would be attracted by the sight of the almighty Narukami Ogosho, represented by the Electromitodomoi. Though their lives may be longer than any creature, they will at last come to their end. If those with limited lifespans hanker after eternity, then they can only pray that eternity remembers them, and she did indeed answer their prayers, remembering them all, friend and foe alike, in her heart. No matter whether it was the demon owls who resided amidst the fog and ripped through the skies, the Baka Tanuki who dared to trespass her imperial gardens, or that female Oni, lovely as the moon and mighty in battle, yet who would eventually come to blows with her. Whether it was the Tengu who soared on dark wings, or the Kitsune Saigu who once walked by her side, but who eventually disappeared forever. These countless tales have come to rest within her heart, and someday they will surely shine again in the eternal paradise of her dreams. Fine. Dang it. I probably have enough to make one. Not gonna do the domain. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. It's my first time getting those. I'm up to the golden electrometer Demoy. Alright, Narukami's Valor. The treasure of the world, treasure of the Lord of Thunder is her majesty. And that majesty is embodied in her valor and wrath. Her wrath comes from the love that persists in her heart, and her valor supports that anger. Thus, whoever should block the path towards eternity or lay a finger on Inazuma's people shall become her foe. They say that there were 4 great spirits, 3 divine foxes and 2 great swords, but that the symbol of her excellency, the almighty Narukami Ogosho, could only be a single strike, unsurpassed and brilliant as a meteor. Mask of the Wicked Lieutenant. Folktales tell that once upon a time, there lived an Oni named Torachio. Torchio was a highly skilled warrior, such that it was once the Torchio might dance. Such that it was once said that Torchio might dance amid 1,000 blades. Juni Hitoe, robes becoming shredded, like falling violet petals, and yet not receive a single wound. Yet this Oni would eventually betray the shogun and revolt, becoming shorn of an arm and a horn in the battle before fleeing, and slaying itself in a fit of furious madness. Torachio? Hearsay holds that the stubborn Oni often would hold fear and distress in their hearts, that they should fantasize about eternity yet fear the moment, and are apt to become swallowed by terror or anger, is their just reward. This mask depicts Torchio, fangs bared. Mask of the Tiger's Bite. Tsumire Zome Sangetsu Kogetsukan depicts the fierce Oni Torchiro's shattering the shogun's naginata with a single bite, thus gaining the upper hand for a time. As such, masks that are based on him have finely crafted fangs. In the denouncement of this tale, the wounded Oni fled into the forest, deathly afraid of showing himself even to the cold moonlight. The wind that whispers through the alleys and valleys can be said to resemble the quiet cries of agony, and so there is a poetic seasonal expression for this in Inazuma, Torchio's Wind. Mask of the One-Horned. In the lost songs of the Oni nursemaids, Torchio was an elegant young man, strong of body and fair of face. He was once a beloved lieutenant of the shogun, and he followed her into the dark abyssal realms to repel the defiled ones. Winning renown for the Oni, whose blood thinned with each passing day. None now sing these songs, but the mask of a horned Oni, even in a different form, still possesses power beyond the norm. Mask of the Kijin. Chiyo, a warrior of the Oni tribe with the Electro Mitsudomoe emblem emblazoned on her back, was once swallowed whole by a beast from beyond this world that had a tiger's body and a serpent's tail. While holding back the forces of darkness, at last she tore the creature's innards apart from within, breaking free. This is the origin of the phrase Chiyo, the tiger bite, and would be changed over many years to Torchio. But within the belly of the beast, she was stained by a deep sin, and saw her comrades ripped to shreds by those blood-red teeth. Steeped in darkness, as far as the eye could see, she would eventually draw her sword upon the almighty Narukami Ogosho. Her sword arm and one horn would be cloven, and she would flee from the city into the forest like a wounded beast. There they say that she was taken for some unknown monster and slain by the Tengu, or perhaps by the Shumatsuban, or perhaps by a scion of the Iwakura clan, training deep in the mountains, where her features had been twisted by hatred and the agony of her wounds. Or perhaps she even met the Oni-masked sword-bearing doll near the corpse of the giant serpent, and there ended her life's journey. Few among those who fought against the abyss in those days were spared pitch-dark dreams. Those who slew monsters and then became them were hardly the minority. The border between worlds grows fragile, and corruption of this kind is, perhaps, not merely monodirectional. Oh, so Torchio is Chiyo, and it's one of the Shogun's friends. Hi, Russell. Copper Talisman of the Forest Dew. Under the instructions of the first sage, the ancestors of the forest people made these talismans using withered trees in the memory of the Lord of Verdure. The talisman's shapes was inspired by the forest dew. It symbolizes the permeation of wisdom into mortal minds. Iron Talisman of the Forest Dew. Later, the Lord of Verdure taught people the mystery of the forging of black iron. The innocent mortals thus grasped the knowledge of using fire to forge blades. The Lord of Verdure took pleasure in their knowledge, lethal as fire and blades were to her. They made ordinary people powerful. Silver Talisman of the Forest Dew. In the myriad lore of the forest, the one in the striped cape that resembled blazing flames was the greater lord of labyrinths, and the owner of the moon-mirrored spring. When he bowed his head and struck up a friendship with the Lord of Verdure, the tokens of their friendship were the gems that glimmered like water and silver that gleamed like the moonlight. To repay such a gesture, the Lord of Verdure promised to keep secrets for the greater Lord of the Labyrinths, to safeguard the intricate and beautiful dreams of the rainforest together. Golden Talisman of the Forest Dew. Mortals hold dear three things only: the spring water that embraces the moonlight, verdant life, and ageless youth. The nature of wisdom is not domination over all minds, or scheming to gain all the benefit. Instead, it is about empowering ordinary beings to have the freedom to live beyond their limits. Though the roar of the tiger is no longer heard in the forest, the resilient guardians would seclude themselves within the dreams of children. On the night when every secret golden seal is lifted and all dreams glow like amber in the moonlight, perhaps she and her beloved people will eventually win genuine freedom. Not too sure what this is talking about. Anyway, Oasis Gardens Reminiscence. People used to say that the Lord of Flowers was the Lord of Joy and Happiness. Fresh water sprang from her sleeves, and thus was the oasis of blooming flowers born in the desert. Flowers and grasses followed in her footsteps, and gleaming moonlight clearing the way for her. In the bitter days when the sky turned its back on the earth, the Lord of Flowers extended her mercy to each and every one of the mortals, letting them regain their happiness and egos, allowing leisure and luxury to resume. Oasis Garden's Kindness. In the literature buried deep beneath the yellow sands, the Lord of Flowers was the mistress of dreams. She bestowed dreams upon the exiled, the manic, and the foolish. In those dreams, they were presented with their dearest delights. Burdened by the brutality of reality, they were fascinated by the charm of the Lord of Flowers and captivated by her beauty and care. Oasis Garden's Morning. The Lord of Flowers was in an amicable relationship with the Jinn. The Mistress of Flowers and the Oases joined hands with the Lord of Deserts and built Aikonum, the city of amphitheaters, which carried the meaning of City of the Moon Maiden in the ancient language of the Jinn. Oasis Garden's Truth. Who would worship a departed god? The Lord of Flowers was once in alliance with two counterparts. Apart from wisdom and power, she brought to her people mercy and joy, just as the earth needs more than the burning sunshine and pouring rain. To the people of the Lord of Flowers, joy and love, singing and music, and wine and extravagance were just as vital as strength and sensibility. It is said that flowers blossom so that they may magnificently wither. That withering was precisely the initial pursuit of the Lord of Flowers, for death adds bitterness to lost joy and intensifies with time across endless memories. The ignorant Lord of Deserts was never aware of her reasoning. He only reveled in her immense charming grace. And as misguided as such fervent affections might be, they were well within the calculations of the Lord of Flowers. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay. Echo of Scorching Might. A long time ago, the people of the Lord of Deserts carved these imperial insignias based on robust beetles to memorialize the bright sun that marked the shifting of day and night, as well as the infinity of such times. Though the name of that lord is no longer mentioned, these imperial insignias have been preserved through time, each bearing a faint ambience of those past glories. These insignias travel with the descendants of the Eremite tribe, silently telling the tales of their then lord. Remnant glow of scorching might. To organize diverse minds and lead countless souls, this is the essence of power. However, power is not cold-blooded tyranny. Its true ideal, at its heart, is to create a utopia free of worry, schemes, and slavery. It was just as the Silent Lord saw in the crystal's secrets, and just as the lost companion had once taught. The dark insect insignia and the steel judgment thus laid the foundations of the kingdom's rules. Dream of Scorching Might. Silver moonlight and clear springs once completed the scenery of the oasis, but as the Lord of Flowers faded in the darkening sandstorm, so was the worryless golden paradise submerged by death. In the poetry of the Eremite tribe, the moon cast its silver light on the crimson mantle, causing Al-Akmar, the morning king, to be driven to madness. In a melancholic desert ballad, driven by the haunting nostalgia, the lonely king created an ever-youthful dreamland in the center of the desert, where undisturbed water sprang up and perpetual dusk remained. Golden days of scorching might. In the era when the ignorant lord of the Lord of Deserts, ruled. His power descended upon every inch of the land like the scorching sun. The ancient stone tablets record that he turned his power into 7 rays of blinding light, or 7 pillars, which he granted equally and mercifully to everyone. No one was neglected, nor was anyone discontented. That was a forgotten golden era, an era when the Lord of Flowers had faded into the sands, and the Lord of Verdure was determined to leave. Only the descendants in the yellow sand chose to follow their god. Even as the grim shadow of calamity loomed, the power in which they had faith shone brightly like amber and gold. Yet calamity befell nonetheless, and the golden insectoid insignias were buried beneath the depths of shrine and palace. Under collapsed pillars engraved the images of griffins and bulls. Damaged mask. Broken bone mask that once belonged to some hilichurl. Now more broken than complete. It can no longer perform its primary function of being a mask. Stained mask. A bone mask covered in unidentifiable stains that emanates a mysterious odor. Yet such is the devotion of hilichurls to masks that they will wear it nonetheless. Ominous mask. A glossy bone mask with oil paintings painted on it. Oil markings painted on it. Meant to intimidate enemies. No one really knows why hilichurls are so fascinated with masks. Some say that it's because they don't want to see their own reflections in the water. Divining Scroll. A scroll that likely relates to some kind of magic. Exudes an inexplicable but ominous warmth. Sealed Scroll. An old scroll lacking in detail and clarity. By following the images on it, some magical creatures can recreate a small part of its magic. Forbidden Curse Scroll. A scroll inscribed with ancient images. It is said that few can decipher its meaning, and the few scholars that have all went mad. Firm Arrowhead. A roughly produced arrowhead. Though unimpressive, neither it nor the bow should be underestimated, for even the bravest knight can be felled by an arrow from the rear. From the ass? Oh my god. Sharp Arrowhead. A well-made arrowhead, sharp enough to penetrate armor with the ease of a rock through the surface of water. Weathered Arrowhead. An old arrowhead coated in blood. The arrowhead has long since lost its sharpness, and thus its use as a weapon. However, it represents the pride of a hunter, and acts as both the amulet and the medal. Heavy Horn. A crude horn created used by hilichurls to warn each other, given the damage to the horn, it won't be warning anyone anytime soon. Black Bronze Horn. A metallic monster horn that can only be obtained from especially strong hilichurls, since blowing on the horn takes real strength. Black Crystal Horn. A metallic horn with an ominous shine, decorated with black crystals of an unknown source. It has hardly been used at all. It is likely a ceremonial item of the hilichurls. Dead Leyline Branch. Fragile branches from deep within the earth, even after years of aging. From beneath its mottled surface, you can see that its power is not yet entirely lost. Dead Leyline Leaves. A twig from deep within the earth. Though it's far from where it once lay, its leaves still pulsate with energy. Leyline Sprout. It is said that there are great tree. It is said that there was a great tree whose roots once spread out to every corner of the world, and this branch is said to be part of it. It is almost as if it never broken off and taken far away, for its vitality is such that it still sprouts new leaves even now. Mistgrass pollen, a strange spores created by mistgrass in enclosed space. They are the sisson's favorite food. Mistgrass, well-preserved mistgrass. Some would take advantage of the sisson's love for mistgrass to control them. Mistgrass wick, a rare bundle of mistgrass that gives off a faint glow. Those who carry it invite both the sissons and misfortune. Hunter's sacrificial knife, a sharp alloy weapon. Though its owner has been lost, it still reflects a disturbingly cold light. Agent's sacrificial knife, an oddly shaped weapon made with superior Schneerznayan technology that once belonged to a senior agent. Proper training is required for using this strange weapon. Inspector's sacrificial knife. In the hands of its lord, this fierce weapon has handled many debts. No one has eyes in the back of their heads, and this weapon and its related techniques are designed around that weakness. Recruit's insignia. An insignia to identify the recruits makes one wonder about what the ones joining the Fatui war machine were thinking. Sergeant's insignia. An insignia with a different shape to distinguish the sergeants from new recruits. Perhaps there are complicated emotions behind it. Lieutenant's insignia. An insignia to identify officers. The Fatui possess a colossal army, so there must be something extraordinary about the ones who achieve this rank within the group. Slime condensate, a thick coating found on slimes. Most commonly seen material in elemental workshops. Slime secretions, mildly purified slime secretions. Harmful to the skin, please avoid direct exposure. Slime concentrate, concentrated slime essence. When left alone, it will begin to move on its own. Whopper flower nectar. Nectar extracted from the stamen of a whopper flower that contains trace amounts of an elemental energy. The taste of the nectar has a hint of sweet flower in it. Shimmering nectar. Nectar that is full of pure elemental energy. Scholars generally concur that whopper flowers are advanced life forms among the elemental plants, but there has yet to be a satisfactory explanation regarding their predatory habits. Energy nectar. A thick and sticky honey that is full of energy. The whopper flower hunts by tricking its prey, a process it uses to possibly evolve into a more powerful and pure form. Fragile bone shard. A bone shard once carried by a Geovishap hatchling. Although they are quite fragile, they seem to still harbor some indescribable power. Sturdy bone shard. A fragment of an unknown creature's bones that appear to be prized by Geovishap hatchlings for some reason. The fragment appears to be quite aged. Despite being dragon-like beasts with no spoken language, they still seem to have some sort of special affection for these bone shards. Fossilized bone shard. A fossilized bone fragment, sometimes found after defeating Geovishap hatchlings. Geovishap hatchlings all dream of growing into great dragons one day. They see these fossils as dragon bones and greatly cherish them. Perhaps because they too hope to attain the dragon's longevity and power. Treasure hoarder insignia. A signet that proudly represents its owner's position as member of the treasure hoarders. The pursuit of treasure knows no bounds. That said, is being a thief something to be proud of? Silver Raven Insignia. A raven insignia used by members of the treasure hoarders to identify each other. The treasure hoarders ask for no resume. Anyone who has an insatiable desire for treasure and is backed up by an equal amount of courage can become a worthy member. Golden Raven Insignia. A raven insignia that symbolizes the pride and the guiding principle of the treasure hoarders. Whether it's hidden amidst the vastness of the land or in the depths of the seas, as long as there are treasures to be hunted down, the spirit of treasure hoarders, who will stop at nothing to acquire them, will never die. Chaos Device. Comes from an ancient defunct relic structures. A part that once held the structure together. It's aesthetically pleasing. Engineering is quite exquisite. Chaos Circuit. Comes from ancient defunct relic structures. Was once a logic circuit responsible for movement functions. Sadly, no one is able to make sense of how it worked. Chaos Core. Comes from ancient defunct relic structures. The core that once drove a mechanical beast. Should you come to understand its workings and reproduce it, you could perhaps change the world. Old Handguard. A battle-worn handguard that was once mounted on an Inazuman blade. For those adept in the art of the sword, the tsuba is a defense from the edge of an opponent's blade. For beginners, it is a defense made for their own right hand to protect it from itself. So your hand does not slip onto the blade. Kageuchi Handguard. A handguard mounted upon a sword of some distinction. Inazuma has a long tradition of sword making. When making swords, smiths will often make several different weapons at once, before choosing from among them the shinuchi, or the best weapon, while the others are known as the kageuchi. Yeah, you have the light blades, you have the dark blades, or the shadow blades. And the shadow blades, you sell them. For the light blades, you offer them to your god. Famed Handguard. An intricately made handguard that was mounted upon... this one's mounted. This one's mounted. Pretty sure it's mounted. So there's a little typo there. Mounted upon a famed weapon. Some believe that swords have souls and lives of their own, and thus deserve their own names. Those who love their blades will be acknowledged by them in turn, but those who see their swords as friends, or even lovers, should be warned that this relationship is built on death and bloodshed. The passion of those who dance with their blade amid crimson showers. The passion of those who dance with their blade amid crimson showers must surely be cooled someday by fickle steel. Chaos Gear. Comes from a now inactive ancient ruin machine. This is the energy source of that biomimetic mechanism. Chaos Axis. Comes from a now inactive ancient ruin machine. Even the great techniques and unknown power of this device must come to nothing should the machine that contained them ever fail to maintain structural integrity. Chaos Oculus. Comes from a now inactive ancient ruin machine. The ruin part of the name comes from the areas where they are most active. However, ruin machines actually have little in common with the detritus in which they are often found. In the ancient past, These ruins were once part of a civilization mighty enough to almost touch the dome of the firmament, while ruin still waits in the deep places of the earth, awaiting the order to rise and tread all kingdoms underfoot. Dismal Prism. This was once a prism that could polarize light, but has grown dull through the passing of years. Crystal Prism. A prism that can bend light. Illusory images can be made using such prisms, giving such devices, in a manner of speaking, the power to sway human hearts. Polarizing Prism. A prism that can bend light. In the darkness, these prisms can spread into light. Spread thin light into a wider area. Perhaps this is due to the quirk that these prisms can grant a measure of peace to those whose hearts are oft shrouded in darkness. Spectral Husk, an energy core that allows the specters to float. It contains a small amount of elemental energy. Most of the rest has already dispersed. Spectral Heart, an energy core that allows the specters to float. These elemental life forms have strange behavioral patterns and will periodically surge in number before disappearing. Spectral Nucleus, a complete energy core that can sometimes be found after defeating specters. There is a debate among those who just have to divide the world into winners and losers. What floats better, a specter or an animal slime? Concealed Claw, residual body tissue left behind by one of the Rift Wolves. By ordinary logic, these objects, so alien to this world, should not have remained behind after these abnormal creatures were excised from the land. Concealed Unguis, body tissue left behind by one of the Rift Wolves. Though they are quite wondrous indeed, these hunting hounds of Alphisol are nothing of note before Durin of Humus. It must be their alchemical names. Concealed Talon, a sharp nail left behind by one of the Rift Wolves. All the marvels of the world must pale before Cretaceous, the greatest work of them all. So you have Alphisol, Humus, and Cretaceous. Pretty sure Cretaceous is albedo. Fungal spores. A small amount of glittering spore powder left behind by floating fungi. Seems that a sneeze is all it takes for this powder to vanish without a trace. Luminescent pollen. A small parcel of luminescent fungal spore powder. A common medical ingredient in the land of rainforests. Merchants usually sell them in paper packets. Crystalline cyst dust. A huge lump of spore powder collected from a structurally complete spore cyst. Put it in an appropriate environment and the area might be filled with a thriving aggregation of floating fungi later. Gloomy Statuette. An idol made in the likeness of some unknown person. Even though this carving has seen many years pass, it still has not been damaged in any way. It seems that its previous owner must have cherished it like some holy icon. Dark Statuette. An idol made in the likeness of some unknown one-eyed person. You can feel a strange warmth emanating from within as you hold on to it, like the shoulder of a dear friend. Perhaps this icon can indeed give people who understand its significance the courage to carry on. Deathly Statuette. A one-eyed carving that emanates an ominous energy, with no indication of what it's made of. As you gaze upon this idol, you can almost hear a strange comforting whisper. See, my child, all that lies under the throne of heaven shall be destroyed by upheaval. The eternal peace of the pitch-dark void shall embrace us all. Well, that's not ominous. Lord Ermin? Or Odin? Inactivated fungal nucleus. Body tissue left behind by a fungus that has been exposed to intense elemental stimulation. Its soothing texture makes it shockingly good for stress relief. However, frequent usage can easily lead to the fungi multiplying, and thus the material is not suitable for any commercial use. Dormant fungal nucleus. Body tissue left behind by a fungus that has been exposed to intense elemental stimulation. There was once a protracted debate among emerita researchers on whether the fungi should be categorized as plants or animals. In the end, they reached an agreement that closed the case for good. The fungi shall be its own category, neither plant nor animal. Robust fungal nucleus. Body tissue left behind by a fungus that has been exposed to intense elemental stimulation. It is generally believed that the fungi evolved into more mobile forms to better disperse their spores. A poet once depicted a shared dream of the fungi, in which their spores covered every inch of the mountains and oceans. The world had never been more tranquil. Then the fungi turned into fish, birds, beasts, men, and gods, relying on rainfall, land, and their own kind could return to the earth. Faded red satin. A piece of red satin used to cover the eyes. The fabric is slightly torn. Many eremites tend to cover their eyes with textiles, but the original intention of this practice has long been lost to the sands of time. Trimmed red silk. A piece of red silk trimmed with simple decorations. A seasoned warrior can detect weaknesses from their foe's eyes, and thus take advantage. The eremites have long since lost a master to serve, and now they have no one to trust but themselves. Word has it that they are more than convinced that all things betray, even their own eyes. Rich red brocade. A piece of red brocade, woven with golden thread. Those born in the gilded desert, under the sun, occasionally sing a song, of which the meaning has been forgotten. They would praise the scorching sun that illuminates the earth as equally as ever, and bewail the afterglow at the end of the dusk. Some unfamiliar words recur at the end of the song, which are said to be the names of ancient gods. Legend has it that when the king of the desert was still alive, his people chose to cover their eyes, as they dared not look upon him, whose brilliance was beyond that of the sun. Make sense? Chaos storage. Comes from a now inactive ancient ruined drake. Ruined drakes can absorb elemental energy from the outside and store it in this component inside their neck. Chaos module. Comes from a now inactive ancient ruined drake. The dragons were once the most primitive and ancient bodily form of the supreme elements, until they were defeated, conquered, or assimilated. Chaos Bolt. Comes from a now inactive ancient ruined drake. Among the lost ancient kingdoms, there was a group of people who were obsessed with the idea of mimesis, be it the hypostases, pure ordered elements, or the ancient primitive power of the dragons. These people believed that they might all be replicated and modified to the point where they had surpassed their natural counterparts. By this means, a superior and unsullied bodily form could replace the continuously decaying and shattering order. Damaged prism. A damaged component obtained from defeating a primal construct. These uniquely shaped machines are the eternal sentinels of the desert ruins, and they possess the power to pierce the mountains and reshape rocks. The same principles that power many mysterious devices above and beneath the earth also power these machines. Turbid prism. An old component obtained from defeating a primal construct. He said that these machines are different from those ruined machines that come from deep within the desert, for they were not made as heralds of destruction or conquest. Radiant Prism, an exquisite component obtained from defeating a primal construct. The Lord of the Barren Desert once had a dream, and once made a great many promises. The legend of the desert say that these machines were originally vehicles for these unknown promises, which now live on only within their mechanical memory banks. Desiccated Shell, the ruined shell of a consecrated beast, a tangible effigy to the grand calamity that devoured the lands of yore, usually only discovered in places few dare tread. Sturdy Shell, the sturdy shell of a consecrated beast, the remains of a ruinous beast that once gnawed at the flesh of great, fallen beings, even should the beast sup a sliver of power from the gods of yesteryear. They too will greet the same end as said gods. Marked Shell, the marked shell of a consecrated beast, inscribed with ancient script on the pallid contours of the shell, the regrets of a time long past have been inlaid. One day the bones of the beast will scatter like dust in the wind, and then finally may the exalted deceased greet their final rest. A flower yet to bloom. A wild flower that a hilichurl rogue treasured. It was plucked before it could bloom. The hilichurl takes nothing with it in its sojourn across the wilderness save this flower. Treasured flower. A wildflower that a hilichurl rogue treasured, bereft of any special qualities. Flowers can be used as gifts or offerings to express one's feelings in many cultures. Though no longer bound by any cultural framework, perhaps that meaning still holds true. Wanderer's blooming flower. A blooming wild flower that a hilichurl rogue treasured, bereft of any special qualities. The eternal Outlander asks not for reward, but only to see their deeds come to fruition. They say that languages are representations of one's homeland, but hilichurls are a species lacking in memory and words alike. To these wandering creatures, the fragrant scent of a flower is the only feature that bears any semblance to a token of honor. Oh. Tainted Blood. A crystal imbued with the winds of antiquity, as well as another occult power, from within the great dragon's body. The mighty dragon was once a captive of a cage of toxicity, woven of 3 poisons. The foul blood he once ingested, the lies whispered from the abyss, and the anguish of the abandonment. Through tears shed and songs sung, the unholy spikes that had grown on Dvalin's body were smashed to pieces, and the web that had ensnared him was torn away. Perhaps these feats were achievable only by a free-spirited traveler from faraway land. Monolith Fragment. A fragment of an implement once used to pin a great beast down in the ancient past. There once was a time when the inhabitants of this land were terrorized by waves as tall as mountains, torn from their dreams in the dead of night by the deafening roar of tidal waves that would shake the world to its core. Fear of such horrors gradually subsided over the years as peace became the norm. But no matter. Though that which lies in the deep awakens once more, it is powerless to prevent the dawning of a new era. Perhaps this is just what the one who suppressed the overlord of the vortex has been hoping to witness in the millennia since. Funerary Mask. A trophy obtained from defeating Signora, 8th of the Fatui Harbingers. The Fatui often face the world from behind their masks. And it is said that this is because all they once were mean nothing once they become Fatui, and thus must they forsake their true names and faces alike. Yet the act of giving up all that makes up an I, one's past, and the bonds that come with it, is no mean feat. Perhaps it is fair to say that only those who possess an obsession close to or even exceeding the level of delusion might be willing to join this group that so rebels against the heavenly principles, binding their remaining days to their delusions and burning as brightly as stars. Of course, many within the Fatui are simply consumed by power and are simple sadists. Nor are these states necessarily in conflict. The woman whose real name was Rosalind Krushka Lofolter may have once led a more innocent, naive existence, but that was before her eyes were filled with raging fire, and her innocent days were burned away, before the icy delusion extinguished the flaming tongues that ever gnawed her, before the frozen might that protected her was shattered by the eternal Outlander, unbound yet no less determined than she was, causing the flames to burst forth once more. Silver Twig. A new branch taken from the center of the world. There was once a giant tree that ran across the world, and this twig was part of it. Though it has been removed from the tree, their connection remains strong as ever. Therefore, as long as the giant white tree that symbolizes the center of the world does not die, it will never wither. Trees symbolize life. In one of the stories from a certain place, there was a person who had entrusted her consciousness to the white tree's branches before she passed away. In that way, neither her life nor hope would be lost, since the branches would grow and sprout where there was sunshine and rain, and would one day blossom and bear fruits. Trees also symbolize wisdom. In one of the legends, a sage hanging upside down on a tree had acquired the knowledge of how to inscribe runes and control sacred words. Odin thus followed the kingdom established along the tree's roots, eventually gaining a glimpse of the secret of the cosmos. All knowledge, memory, and experience flow through this giant tree, just like a stream flows into a river. The river joins the sea, and the sea turns into clouds, and the clouds rain onto the ground, just like life itself. Teachings of freedom. Freedom is the spirit of the land of the wind. The freedom to live is one of such. It is the freedom to live freely and healthily without worries of one's own safety. Freedom is a guide to freedom. Freedom is the spirit of the land of the wind. The freedom of travel is one of such. It is the freedom to traverse the land freely without being obstructed. Philosophies of freedom. Freedom is the spirit of the land of the wind. To sing is one such freedom. To sing on the land created by the animal archon is to send your heart away with the song on the wind. Teachings of resistance. Resistance is the backbone of the land of the wind. The history of Mondstadt is that of resistances, in order to prevent the past conflicts from ever being forgotten, like sprouts breaking through the soil, like the eternal wind eroding through stone walls. Guide to resistance. Resistance is the backbone of the land of the wind. The history of Mondstadt is that of resistances, in order to grant the citizens of Mondstadt the freedom that they now enjoy, like the animal archon blowing away the snow, or like Vanessa rising up. Philosophies of resistance. Resistance is the backbone of the land of the wind. The history of Mondstadt is that of resistances. In order to allow the future Mondstadt's poetry to freely be that of the wind and be spread across the land. Teachings of Ballad. Poetry is the soul of the land of the wind. Poetry is the manifestations of beautiful feelings. On a beautiful day, the breezes carry with them poetry that touches the heart of the people, like the wind caressing the leaves. Guide to Ballad. Poetry is the soul of the land of the wind. Poetry is the manifestations of the will to encourage. In the dark days, the gales in the streets and alleyways whisper words of fury, like the battle drums, like the low rumbling before the storm. Philosophies of Ballad. Poetry is the soul of the land of the wind. Poetry is the manifestations of the desire to spread the word. Though nothing is eternal, though nothing will be the same, the wind's poetry will still spread beyond the skies, the land, the seas, to every corner of the world. Teachings of Prosperity. Prosperity is the people's pursuit in the land of Geo. Prosperity is the blessing of Liyue. It is the foundation of the great city built by the gods and the people of Liyue. It is the source of the peace and safety of the land. Guide to Prosperity. Prosperity is the people's pursuit in the land of Geo. Prosperity is the promise made by Liyue to his children, to repay the hard-working laborers with enough gold to brighten up this land. Philosophies of Prosperity. Prosperity is the people's pursuit in the land of Geo. Prosperity is Liyue's past, present, and future. This prosperity is unmatched and unobtainable by any other nations. It all belongs to Liyue and its inhabitants. Teachings of Diligence. Industriousness is the foundation of the land of Geo. Diligence is having the bravery and strength to conquer mountains and seas, to pursue gold and prosperity through honest hard work. Guide to Diligence. Industriousness is the foundation of the land of Geo. Industriousness is the catalyst that flows in the blood of the people of Liyue, able to turn rocks into gold. It is what lies behind the greatness of its great commercial port. Philosophies of Diligence. Industriousness is the foundation of the land of Geo. Industriousness is believing in one's own ability to earn a place in the land of the gods through sweat, wisdom, and power. Teachings of Gold. Gold is the symbol of the land of Geo. Gold is the blood that flows deep within Liyue's veins, the muscle that makes up Liyue's beating heart, and the bones that make Liyue stand proud. Guide to Gold. Gold is the symbol of the land of Geo. Gold symbolizes conversion. This is the unspoken understanding between Liyue's mountains, land, city, and people. In Liyue, industriousness is converted into gold, and gold into prosperity. Philosophies of Gold. Gold is the symbol of the land of Geo. Gold is the wealth of Liyue, but Liyue's true wealth is the hearts of its people that shine like gold. Teachings of Transience. Transience is the dream of the nation of thunder. Fleeting glories are the highest expressions of mortal beauty. For are we mortals not like the flashing lightning itself? Like a lovely dream or blossoming spark, we shall leave a gorgeous mark on the eternal night sky. Guide to Transience. Transience is the dream of the nation of thunder. We find the greatest joys in mortal life in fleeting dreams, for is life itself not like the shadow of the thunder? Pursue your dreams into the clouds if you wish, and enjoy the unexpected silence of the dim lamp-lit nights. Philosophies of Transience. Transience is a dream of a nation of thunder. The fleeting nature of this mortal world is the essence of beauty. For are our lives in this world not akin to the 11 flash? 11? Yet the might of the divine comes suddenly, and before the roar of eternity, who can stand? 11? Teachings of elegance. Elegance is the form of the nation of thunder. Elegance brooks no flattery, and the elegant are ever noble. They are like the sea eagles who soar on high to contend with resounding storms. They will not cater to Philistine vulgarity, as one would not cast a flower crown into the mud, staining its dignity. Guide to elegance. Elegance is the form of the nation of thunder. Elegance shuns arrogance. The elegant are ever humble, and only by discarding vanity and sloth may one see clearly. And is there not beauty and loveliness even in the basest of appearances? Philosophies of elegance. Elegance is the form of the nation of thunder. Elegance arbors vulgarity, and the elegant ever walk home. Resisting base evils, unmoved by base loves, never taking refuge in base ignorance. That is how one perceives the chasm between the elegant and the contemptuous. Teachings of light. Light is the yearning of the land of thunder. The ruler who claims to have perceived all forever aims to hoard celestial glory. But this vision that cannot be shared only leads to people to long for it more fiercely, like moths diving into the flame. Guide to light. Light is the yearning of the land of thunder. Though the sun rays themselves should be blocked by layers upon layers of clouds, there are still those in the thunder god's land who dream of piercing that wrathful sea of lightning to pursue the glory of the divine, fearing not that they shall be cruelly struck down. Philosophies of light. Light is the yearning of the land of thunder. Though they must live forever on the earth, humanity will always reach for the light. Mortals will pursue and surpass, and they will never stop. A sealed eternity may perhaps look magnificent, but its essence is death. Teachings of admonition. Admonition is the branches of the nation of wisdom. Admonition comes from a pure heart. Only sensible words of goodwill can express profound wisdom and free the sprout of knowledge from the shackles of arrogance. Guide to admonition. Admonition is the branches of the nation of wisdom. Admonition is paired with wise thinking. Careful deliberation affords humble words. A clarity that convinces the wise and enlightens the foolish. Such words allow wisdom to flow like an unobstructed river. Philosophies of admonition. Admonition is the branches of the nation of wisdom. Admonition is completed by good deeds. What is done confers real meaning upon what is said. When one's mind, words, and deeds are aligned, their nourishment shall guarantee the fruition of wisdom's tree. Ingenuity. Teachings of ingenuity. Ingenuity is the leaf veins of the nation of wisdom. Ingenuity springs forth from benevolent consideration. They say that a poisonous tree bears no kind fruit. Similarly, ingenious nascent ideas are always born from determined and benign minds, for only they are worthy bearers of wisdom. Guide to ingenuity. Ingenuity is the leaf veins of the nation of wisdom. Ingenuity sets words of integrity on the right path. One who thinks out of goodwill, and in a clever and careful fashion, never deviates from the path of boons. Yet one who thinks with contempt and malice shall taint their words with despicable colors. Philosophies of ingenuity. Ingenuity is the leaf veins of the nation of wisdom. Ingenuity is completed by harmonious conduct. What is done completes what is thought. Wisdom blooms where the mind, words, and practice converge. Teachings of praxis. Praxis are the roots of the nations of wisdom. Praxis stem from an unwavering will. All wisdom is manifested through the unyielding pursuit of goodness. Where goodness is not practiced, ingenuity and eloquence wither. Guide to praxis. Praxis are the roots of the nation of wisdom. Praxis validate words of honesty. Though one speaks and acts out of goodwill, one has not yet obtained wisdom. Wisdom born from action is a signet pressed upon more honest words. Philosophies of praxis. Praxis are the roots of the nation of wisdom. Praxis bring forth the fruit of wisdom. Practice grants itself meaning. Practice grants itself meaning, and it is only by treading a path that unites action, speech, and thought that the wise may reach perfection. Crown of insight. Once a medium for the storage and transfer of wisdom in ancient times, now wisdom is found in ancient texts and in profound speech. Nevertheless, this crown of insight must still be able to impart some transcendent power and wisdom to its bearer. Crimson agate. A crystal formed from the combination of coalesced life force from the unique energies of dragonspine. This will prove excellent nutrition for the frost-bearing tree, which yearns to grow further. When the nail that froze dragonspine descended, the trunk and canopy of this tree shattered into many fragments that were then frozen. A long time later, a black dragon fell into the valley, and its blood seeped into the ley lines. In the long time after that, someone has broken the icy shackles, and the ancient tree that has absorbed that crimson has now sprouted anew. Oh boy. We've made a evil tree. A tree of destruction. Well, next I might just read food. All materials. All resources. They seem to be pretty short. But that'll have to be next time, because yeah, my throat's done. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peach, 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 peach.